Hi, and welcome back. Last time we learned about the Prophet Muhammad and the emergence of Islam. This time, with this video, we're going to learn about Islam under the first four caliphs. When Muhammad passed away, he hadn't named a successor, and this is going to open a can of worms. Scholars believe that Muhammad possibly didn't name a successor because he simply wanted Islam to remain religious and not be about the political power of one leader. Needless to say, without a successor, the Muslim world was on the verge of breaking apart. So Muslim leaders chose Muhammad's best friend and father-in-law, Abu Bakr, to be the successor. Abu Bakr was well qualified. After all, under Muhammad, he had served as his chief military strategist, and he drafted peace treaties. As the first caliph, Abu Bakr used military force to prevent the Muslim world from breaking apart. He invaded Central Asia, Iraq, and Syria, expanding the Muslim sphere of influence. Like his predecessor, Abu Bakr died of a fever. But before dying, he named his chief advisor, Umar, to be the new successor. The second caliph, Umar, again used military force to spread the faith. He completed the conquest of Mesopotamia. He conquered Egypt, and his greatest accomplishment was conquering the Persian Empire. However, conquering the Persian Empire seems to come back and bite him. He gets assassinated, stabbed to death by a Persian slave. With Umar gone, his advising committee selects Uthman to be the next successor, the third caliph, who's going to take up the reins where Umar left off. Under Uthman, the Muslims complete the conquest of North Africa, and then they look north of the Mediterranean. By 650, they're beginning to invade the southern part of Spain. By 652, they conquer Sicily, and this begins the invasions of the Muslim world into Europe. Under Uthman's predecessor, the Muslims had conquered Egypt, and this comes back to bite Uthman because Egyptian rebels break into his house at night and they club him to death in the head. And Uthman's murder is going to lead to a civil war in Arabia. This is when Muhammad's cousin picks up the reins and becomes the fourth caliph. His name is Ali. However, Ali's reign is not going to last long. While praying in a mosque, he is assassinated by Iranians who kill him with a poison-coated sword. Now that Ali was dead, there was a very influential and powerful Muslim family that took advantage of the power vacuum. They were called the Umayyads, and they swooped in and seized control. The consequence of the Umayyads rising to power result in the religion itself, the religion of Islam, fracturing into two denominations, Sunni and Shia. The Muslims that accepted Umayyad rule began to call themselves Sunni because there's a holy book about the Prophet Muhammad's life called the Sunnah, and the way the Sunni interpret the book is that their leaders do not have to be related to Muhammad. However, the Muslims that interpret their scriptures differently and believe that their leaders should be descended from Muhammad obviously opposed Umayyad rule. They became known as the Shia. So let's break it down. Sunnis believe that their leaders should be elected, and they accepted Umayyad rule. Members of the Sunni are called Sunnah. Sunnis typically live in western and southern Iraq, as well as Saudi Arabia. On the other side, we have the Shia. The Shia believe that their leaders should be related by blood to Muhammad, and they were opposed to Umayyad rule. Members of the Shia are called Shiites. The regions in the Middle East that are predominantly Shia are eastern Iraq and Iran. Now that Islam was fractured into two denominations, it's going to cause a lot of conflict within the faith, much like in Christianity between the Catholics and the Protestants. But amidst the conflict between Sunni and Shia, the majority of Sunni and the majority of Shia do not hate each other. The difference between the two is so minimal. The conflict between Sunni and Shia has less to do with the two sides hating each other. It has more to do with particular leaders on both sides using the conflict to try to push their political power. But overall, predominantly both sides are peaceful and want to continue living in peace, as everyone does. So today we covered the first four caliphs, and next time we will continue exploring the spread of Islam into the wider world. I'll see you then.